Oh, let's do that. Oh, I think I'm live. Very good. Okay. Howdy, y'all. All of 0 people. We're going. Everything's going. Perfect. Let's get screen shared here. Howdy there. I think it makes sense to start each of these streams with how do you submit questions. You can see right here, submit your math questions at thecalculustutor.com. That's what it should also say down in the description of the stream on YouTube. And right now, that's, you'll go to thecalculustutor.com, which is my website, and it's straightforward from there. As I go forward and as this channel gets some maturity and things like that, I'll be able to actually post clickable links in the description, and then the description will be a place where you can there'll be one click to submit, to go to the place where you submit questions. But for now, so if you go to thecalculustutor.com, here it is in all its glory. And you can see here's the stream that you could click on and watch it right from the website if you wanted to. And then if you want to submit questions, though, you can click this Learn More, click up here. And then there's a homework submission form right here. That's the preferred way for you to submit questions. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this Google form. Convenient. And the Google form walks you through submitting questions. There's a lot of text, but don't worry about it. I just wanted to have clear instructions for people. It does require you to, so if you were say somebody was following along and they clicked on that button, it may have told them asked them to sign into Google first. That it may have popped up that screen instead. You could have slowing your browser. That's the live stream is slowing my browser. Anyway. So you do need to sign in because you can submit images, and that's really, I feel like that's really critical to this process. But Google requires people who submit responses to forms where you can submit files to sign in with their Google account, which I totally get and kind of appreciate. If you can't access this form with, say, your school Google account, and you don't have or don't want to use your personal Google account, you can always just email me directly. So, and so everything on this form, it just walks you through it. So let's go back to my site, and let's say you weren't going to submit it with the form. The form walks you through it. The email, you just have to compose an email yourself. But here's the guidelines. Here's how to ask a good question so I can give you a good answer. Include your name. But what I mean by that is what you prefer how you want me to refer to you when I'm addressing your question. Your pronouns would probably also be useful, just so I don't have to either bounce around them or get them wrong, or I'll just they you. I'll just they everybody whose pronouns I don't know. Tell me the problem source, what class and what teacher did the problem come from. That helps other students who might have that same question find it. Helps me. My hope is to sort of compile things, and here's all the questions people have ever had about, Miss Abba's algebra class. McSmith's calculus class, whatever, that way I can compile, period 2 calculus class or whatever, right? That way I can compile stuff together. Anyway, so tell me where the problem comes from, and then go ahead and ask your question. Ask your question as specifically as possible. So don't just say, number 8. I don't know how to do number 8. Now, if you don't know where to start, you can say that. Say, I don't know where to start. That's maybe as specific as you can be. But if there's a particular part of the problem you got stuck on, maybe it's a multi-part problem. You're like, 23. I've done A and B. I got stuck on C. That would be really good for me. That tells me that helps me know that you understood what A and B was asking for. So what really is the hang up on C? Tell me what you already tried, that sort of stuff. Basically, the more specific you are, the more specific you can be in your question, the better my answer can be. And it's more likely that my answer will actually help you address the thing that's, making the question hard to answer. All right. And then please, in the email, and there's a place for this on the form, attach images of the problem. So a clear and complete picture of the whole math problem itself. So the instructions and all the problem text, diagrams if there are diagrams, take multiple pictures if you need to, if it's hard to get it. And what I mean, so clear means the text is legible, that it's big enough to read and not blurry, and complete just means that the text isn't cut off. That you do in fact include the instructions as well as the question itself, right? Because sometimes there's like a block of instructions for a set of problems, or if you're working on like a sheet that your teacher gave you, oftentimes there's instructions at the top, and then sure, the questions you're supposed to do. But me knowing the instructions the teacher gave you helps me understand how best to address not just the math of the problem, but what's actually being asked of you for that problem. Yeah. And then also, if you've already done any work and then you got stuck, send me a picture of that work if you want to. That is helpful to me. I will never ever share your work, like that picture you send me of your work. I'll never share that on the stream. I will share pictures of the problems you send. But I'll never share pictures of your work. And if you've already done some work on like a worksheet and it's hard to exclude your work and send the problem, don't worry about that. I'll take care of that on my end. I can quickly block out your work, or grab just the problem questions, things like that. Do your best, and that's all I ask. The better question you ask by following these guidelines, the more quickly and efficiently and the more high quality of an answer I can give you. And then feel free to hop into chat. If you're able to attend this live, like you submit your question and you're able to be there live while I'm answering it, feel free to hop into chat and ask clarifying questions, follow-up questions. People in chat, as I'm working on stuff, please catch me if I make an error. It's gonna happen. Oh my God, I'm actually, yesterday, I went through a kind of a big thing and I got to the end and I realized the answer was clearly wrong. And I got to go back and like show how to like recover from that mistake. And that was really good. So I'm going to mess up all the time. I'll try to keep an eye on chat as I'm going through steps so people can catch me if I do my arithmetic wrong. I mean, it's so easy to drop a negative, or you're supposed to do 5 times 5 and just in your head, you do 5 plus 5 and you write down 10. You don't know why you did that, but it just happens, right? Our brains are imperfect. So yeah, I have chat on slow mode on every 30 seconds. So yeah, you can only send one message every 30 seconds. That's mostly for me right now because I'm very new to this, and that paying attention to a busy chat is one of the things that has seemed the most overwhelming to me about streaming and about, part of the job, the things you have to attend to when you're running a stream. And the streamers I watch, and I often do not look at. I turn off the chat. I don't have the chat visible when I'm watching a person's stream, because even though I'm not running the stream, the chat stresses me out because it goes so fast. So this is on slow mode. Default was 60 seconds. I cut that in half. I plan on probably cutting this in half again, probably quite soon. And then maybe cutting it down even further, maybe to the point of totally turning it off. I see that slow mode as a tool for me, like in terms of managing the stream solo easier for me. I haven't even thought about the possibility of moderators yet. It's occurred to me that streams have them, bigger streams have them, and they're useful. I do believe and understand they're useful for even smaller and medium-sized streams. It could be really nice to sort of delegate that aspect of things to another person, so I can focus on really the reason I'm here, which is to answer math questions, right? I talked about this yesterday. I'm going to repeat myself a lot. That's just the nature of a near daily stream, I guess. This starts at 3. For right now, that's kind of a thing for me. I know the school day doesn't end until 3:30 for a lot of the students in my area. My hope was that this half hour before school lets out might be a time that students that say don't have a last period of the day or are able to step away from it for whatever reason, so to have that freedom to kind of be a little self-directed in that last 30 minutes of the school day, to where they could maybe get access to a little chiller portion where things are getting started, get in early, get out, whatever. It does mean, yeah, I'm going to be thinking about the times. I hope that's a big thing I hope for feedback on from viewers. That's how to submit a question. The form is the exact same thing, and I took the text from the form, which is more verbose, to make the guidelines on the website. But this just, again, asks you a way to identify you, where did the question come from, what your question is, and a place to attach images. And so the idea is people will submit questions through that form. I realized I didn't have the back end of that form open for myself. So I need that open so I can see if there are responses. Not yet. Got to get the inbox also checked. So keep in mind that, yeah, these things are going to be, as fast as the internet is, which is pretty quick. Oh my goodness. But there's going to be a delay. And in fact, you're hearing me on a delay. When I check the stream, it's anywhere between 3 to 9 seconds behind. Which, yeah, I'm curious if that's going to become an issue, but we'll see. But yeah, my hope is people submit questions one of those 2 ways. And, I have ideas for other ways people might be able to submit questions, but I think those 2 ways will suffice for the moment. And then if they can attend the live stream, they do that. They can ask clarifying questions and they can see it. And maybe that's all they need. I will then address those questions. I'll take the images and put them in this space. This is Miro, an online collaboration service I found years ago when we transitioned to online school during the pandemic. I needed um, I needed something both for teaching, but also I was still tutoring, so I needed a way to work with my students. And I found this, and I've been using it ever since. Miro, very nicely, had a lifetime educator license, so I just have this now. It's really, really nice. I can share it with people, and they can access it just from the link. They don't have to sign up for the service at all. They don't have to have an account. And they can edit it. So like when I'm working with a one-on-one student, that student has an editable link. My plan is I want to make this file available just publicly so people on the stream can look at it, but editing right would be giving just public edit access would be a mistake. So I can also share it publicly with view only or commenter access. So I just need to do that, and I need to figure out a place to share it, like the comments, or not the comments, but the description of the YouTube video, for instance, would probably be a good place. I can also see like on like the stream page, like I guess like right here could be a good place for like find this week's notes here or something. Just a button that just links to the view only version of this. Yeah, I think that would be doable. So that's the plan. I think when there's nobody in here, I think the best thing I can do is just sort of provide a sample of that, right? What I keep looking over here because this is where I have my feed, my view of the feed. The camera's right there. I have a lot of video chat reflexes, right? So I'm used to glancing at where the video is playing because that's typically where I keep that near the camera. Anyway, all right. So my thinking today was, at least until maybe we get somebody in here, we get a question submission. I'm gonna go to Reddit. There's an r/homework help, I think, or math help. Probably both. There used to be an r/cheat at math, or cheat on math homework, or something like that. That I liked, because people would submit good questions there. Yeah, so we have some options. This could also be a good time for me to sort of, I guess, re-engage with my tutoring, my calculus tutor Reddit profile. Do I have one actually? Now I don't know. Let's see. You all might also see in a few places popping up. Actually, you can see it right here in the Miro board. Know-how, and my name associated with that. That's like that was the first like tutoring business name I used for lots and lots of years. There still is a registered business, Know-how Tutoring and Consulting. It's like sort of my like top level of my businesses, and the Calculus Tutor is like a brand underneath that. So anyway, when you see know-how stuff, that's also me. I bring that up because I noticed the profile I'm signed in to Reddit with is know-how, like brand is my one that I had for my know-how tutoring. And I thought I made a new one for the calculus tutor stuff. but I haven't yet. Well, I kind of wanted to. So maybe this is a good time to do that. There's nobody watching. Honestly, the chances of somebody going back and looking at these streams is probably pretty negligible, but I do want to, do some examples of myself answering questions that I can sort of clip out, maybe put on the website, that people can see as examples of what it's like when I'm answering a math question, right? So let's log out here. Let's make a new Reddit account for the calculus tutor. Oops, what's happening? Okay. Nice. Okay. All right. Well, I'm taking this opportunity of sort of having committed to sitting here until 4:30, regardless of whether people come, to do the things that are useful to have done. And that way, once I start getting visitors, I'll already have these things done. So right now, I'm just waiting for a verification email. For my new Reddit account. And it's slow. Email is slow. Verification emails are slow. I forgot I had a filter for Reddit. Oh, that's too long. The calculus tutor, all one word, is already taken. The underscore calculus tutor is not taken. Oh, wait. That's available. I dig it. Perfect. That seems good. It asked me how I identify, and it said man, woman, non-binary. I got to choose non-binary. I probably don't want any of this suggested junk, which means it's probably going to just fill my feed with nonsense initially. Education and career. Oh my god. There are 5 things under education career. Career advice, just career, studying and education, frustrating job search, and computer system administration. Ugh, okay. It says select at least 20, continue. Mathematics. Put data science in there too. Here's the thing. I don't want to fill it up too much. I want to be able to try to be very conscientious about this. But I guess this is just like this is hopefully just the base stuff it's going to show me. Studying and education. Okay. Okay. Well, so hopefully that makes the initial stuff it shares with me not nearly as nonsense. Okay. Games on Reddit. Okay, let's do math help r/math help. Let's see what that looks like. So actually here, you know what might be a better way to do this is, it's not as interesting. Keep this here though, but then I can just I can throw up a couple things for us to look at. Okay, so the math help subreddit is kind of great. There are just like it's people asking not necessarily for like math homework help, but literally help with the math that is in their life. Now, sometimes that might come from math homework, but a lot of the way these questions are phrased. Ooh, look at this question. Is there any way to add or subtract fractions without dividing or multiplying? This is interesting because on yesterday's stream, which is interesting for a lot of reasons, but particularly on yesterday's stream, just as something to sort of go through, I showed how to do fraction division without using the flip and multiply that a lot of people learn but don't understand and usually can't do correctly, even if they can remember that that's how you do it, or at least they don't feel confident about it. And we went through, we built up and built to a method of dividing fractions. You can actually, just like when you multiply fractions, how you multiply straight across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, you can also divide fractions that way, straight across. I don't know why we don't teach it that way. Sometimes you need to first find a common denominator, but that's something you need to do to add and subtract fractions anyway. And that right there is what this person is getting at, because the main way that we add and subtract fractions is by finding a common denominator. And in order to find a common denominator, you have to be able to divide, figure out what numbers divide other numbers, right? What numbers is 15 divisible by, and know that it's divisible by 3 and 5. And you have to be able to multiply numbers, to make that common denominator. Sometimes you might have to multiply like a 7 times a 6 or something and know that that's 42. And honestly, doing this is why we want students to be able to do mental arithmetic. Yes, you could go to a calculator, but it is slower. Every time you need to find, especially if you're doing a lot of fraction work, every time you need to find a common denominator, you have to go to a calculator and you have to check 15 divided by 5 equals 3. It is divisible by 5. And a lot of times if people have to do that sort of like 15 divided by 5 on a calculator, they don't feel confident enough doing that in their head. They also means they probably don't recognize that 3 they got as a result, that means 15 is also divisible by 3. They figured out 2 things there, but they probably only think they figured out 1 thing. Anyway, and then you have to do when you figure out the common denominator using a calculator. Then you have to do the multiplication to create the common denominator across everything. So you have to do all this multiplication and multiply, write it down, multiply, write it down. Right. It's slow. Not to knock calculators. It is worthwhile to practice and get confident with your arithmetic. So this person, I honestly just can't do basic dividing and multiplication, was hoping there's a different way to go around this. I love it. I love looking for a workaround. The internet has largely trained us to look for life hacks. Like if there's a thing you don't like to do, a process you don't like, look online. Somebody might have figured out a way around that thing. There might be somebody else in the world who also didn't like that, and now they never have to deal with it because they found some sort of hack, that allowed them to continue living their life and, with minimal downsides to eliminating something that otherwise people might not see as something that can be eliminated or whatever. And that's what's going on here. I'm going to join r/math help. This is fantastic. I honestly just can't do basic dividing and multiplication. I was hoping there's a different way to go around this. So right off the bat, there is. There is. It's almost any other method that doesn't use division and multiplication to get there, that avoids them completely. One, you're still doing the multiplication because the multiplication division is inherent to this process, but you can sort of, so we could do this you could do it visually. You can add and subtract fractions visually using grid paper. So oh, look, my problem is finding common denominators. Can you always just multiply the denominators to find the common or whatever? Yes, 100%. We talked about this yesterday, actually, when we went through how to add and subtract fractions. We were talking about finding common denominators. I talked about, that we could find a common denominator. A lot of times when you're learning it in school, you learn about finding the least common denominator. So there's many common denominators for any two fractions. We teach students to try to find the smallest of those because it will save them steps. It will make the fraction they end up with easier to simplify and already more simplified than if you use some other common denominator that's not the smallest number. And so with this person, I imagine that's kind of what's going on here for this person is find the common denominators. Can you always just multiply denominators to find the common or whatever? Absolutely. That is the fastest way to get a common denominator, and that's typically the way I do it. I rarely worry about finding the least common denominator when I'm actually working with fractions, when fractions are a part of a larger problem I'm working through, and I just need to combine them, because I know I'll be able to simplify the resulting fraction just fine. I'm not worried about simplifying fractions. Now, this person, though, who says that multiplication and division, like they sound like they're in the process of trying to give up on learning multiplication and division, and I think that's the wrong move. I understand that they're probably struggling. One thing I'll emphasize here, and I know it's super easy for me to say, but take it from somebody who has gone through it, the struggle is the learning, right? If you're struggling with a concept in school, that's really good. Don't look for a way to escape the struggle, to offload the struggle, without getting to the other side of it. Don't find some way to give yourself an excuse for not getting through the struggle. And I know it's easy to say, every teacher is expecting that struggle of you for their subject matter, and so you're expected to be struggling on minimum 5 things at a time in your life, and that I think that's a burden we put on students that we don't grapple with. So I guess just know in this space I'm aware of it and I am grappling with it. So as you can, lean into the struggle. If what you're trying to focus on is learning math and that's where your struggle is, and you feel that your effort is worthwhile to get through that struggle, I think it is. I can help you through it. Then lean into it. It'll be one less thing you struggle with, and then you can focus on some other struggle, but you'll have the math confidence, and the math confidence is really the thing that helps you continue learning math. So yeah, there are this is really, really good. Yeah, yikes. Guess the next step is figuring out how easy or not easy it is to simplify a fraction. The solution is not one you will like, but it is the solution. I like this. I agree with this, Mr. D&D. Great username. Practice times tables, practice division. Do these problems for at least 15 minutes of actual study. If you aren't paying attention, you add time, get someone to do it for you each night. It's not the most fun thing in the world, but just do them. Play countdown. Don't do it with a timer to start with. You can get settings which force the random number to always be possible. So this is a game. Just practice. It is a skill that will serve you well, and it's not hard to develop. You just need to do 15 minutes a day. If you keep the skill sharp, you'll be able to play with fractions easily, and then with algebra, etc. 100% I agree with this. It's a matter of, does this person have 15 minutes a day consistently? I know I would struggle to do something 15 minutes a day consistently. I could probably do 15 minutes a day, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, maybe. But I want to emphasize 3 or 4 days a week would work still. This, it says each night. The more consistently you do it, the overall across the calendar faster. You will get to a place of feeling, that feeling of mastery, right? Which is the place we like. That's like the highest level for I was a classroom teacher for a few years, and I've gone through the training of a classroom teacher and worked in districts and stuff like that. And that mastery is like the highest level that we try to push students to. That's like we want to get them there. But the goal is actually proficiency, right? Which is very realistic. That's the real life goal. Because mastery actually is not a real thing. It doesn't exist. There's always something to learn and some way to improve in pretty much everything. A thing that comes to mind is like bowling. Once you get a max score in bowling, but I bet there's ways to improve even that. There's things you could do to challenge yourself and just get better at it. Feel better at it when you're doing it. Be more consistent at it. Get more 300 games in a row. Anyway, this just practice though is the thing here. Practicing times tables, the order of this person. I don't know if this person's a teacher. Yeah, look at this. This is real life. This is so good. This is real life. Part of the problem is I need it for my construction class. This person's in trade school. It's the only reason I passed math in high school. So this person isn't in high school anymore, but I imagine they are probably somewhere in their 20s, maybe in their 30s. And they're trying to get into. It sounds like they're trying to get into construction as a profession, as a trade. Which is great. Construction is pretty safe, reliable. Feel the work. Well, when I say safe and reliable, I mean in terms of like job security. It depends on where you are in that. Somebody who's going to trade school for it, will come out of that probably with credentials that will help them get a more secure position. But look at the struggle. This is the real struggle. I need it for my construction class for tape measures. Tape measures use fractions. I seriously suck at math and I hate it, but like honestly, I could qualify as disabled. How many of you feel that way? I know I have other adults in my life. I tutored a student one time who was in his 60s, 62 or something. I mean, I tutored him for a couple of years, so he was in his early 60s, let's say. Uh, I know that's true. And he was switching careers, and he was going back to school, and he had to take math. And not only had he not taken a math class in 40 plus years, decades, multiple decades, right? Had not taken a math class or probably any class at all, but let alone a math class. He went through school so long ago that his teachers told him and told his parents that he was stupid. They used the word stupid, and that he would never learn math. This person had a fine career and was just looking to change fields, had accomplished what he wanted to with that career and in that field, and had different work that sounded appealing to him, but that he needed to learn. He needed to go to school to be able to do it as best he's, to learn how to do it correctly and to learn how to do it well and to be helpful to people. And he told me that realizing he had to take a math class almost made him give up on it. Isn't that wild? Isn't it that math, this subject, is a thing that will stop like a real full adult, right? I'm almost 40, so I'm a real full adult, but like, I don't know, the way the world works now, millennials are still largely like culturally treated as if we're children, let alone you Gen Z and Alpha students out there. But this is like when I say real full adult, not only did he have a career, he had ended a career. He had finished his career and was looking to start a second one. Right, like that's where this person was in his life. He had accomplished real things. He'd raised kids and gotten them through their high school math classes somehow. Like he told me he didn't do it. All of that was his wife, but he contemplated letting a math class stop him from doing the thing that he thought was the thing for him to be doing and the way he wanted to be in the world. But instead, he fortuitously saw my flyer or a Craigslist ad I posted. I don't even remember. This was a long time ago. And he contacted me, and we met, and he told me about all of this, and he was willing to do the struggle. I think it's so weird. It was so fraught for him. It was a bit of math therapy. He had math trauma. He had educational trauma. Again, a thing we don't talk about enough. My hope, I believe in, but I think it's mostly hope, that we are leaving fewer students, that the school system now sends fewer students into the world with this sort of educational trauma. I still think there's, the students that do have it, I still think too large a proportion of them, it's related to math and their experiences in math class. But anyway, it's a long way around to say that he did it, though. He did the work. He learned how to multiply. He learned how to divide. He learned how to work with fractions, a thing that he had decided 30 plus years before, 40 plus years before, a thing he had decided was just not a thing he would ever deal with in his life. He gave up on ever grappling with fractions, and that meant anything that required that, or maybe even asked it, he had already decided ahead of time was not a thing he was going to allow himself to engage with. I think it's really easy in high school. It's not easy in high school, but at that time in your life, I think it can be easy to say things like, I'll just make decisions that keep me away from math, and that will lead me to a happy life. Thinking that every decision that might lead you to math must also therefore lead you to down a less optimal path. But that's not the decision you made. You made the decision to avoid paths that have math on them, not paths that are the worse option, or the less good option, or whatever, right? But you don't have to be good at math, right? And I'm not arguing people should put all of their effort into being good at math. I don't want you to be scared of math. I don't want you to avoid math. Even if math is the thing you don't like, I want you to know that you can still do it. And I want you to feel confident that you have ways to simplify it for yourself, like little, those sort of, brain hack feelings, those life hack feelings that you get when you're like, most people would struggle with this, but I know a way to, do it so I don't have to deal with it very long. Absolutely. We can talk about ways so that you can minimize the amount you do have to deal with math when you encounter it. But in order to do that, you have to feel confident about your ability to grapple with the math. And that's the hard thing. And that's the thing crazy Redditing here is telling us is their struggle here. They're acutely focused on this particular thing, adding, subtracting fractions without needing to use the skills of multiplication and division. There are totally ways to do it without explicitly saying, I'm going to multiply these two numbers, or I'm going to divide these two numbers. But the multiplication and the division is still there. It's just that instead of in your head saying 35 divided by 5 is 7, we could do a thing where we take 35 things and we separate them into 7 groups and see that there are 5 in each group. That's still division. It's just literally division instead of the more theoretical arithmetic division that we talk about when we just say the numbers and the operations. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So yeah, what this person is asking for is a way to never have to engage with and learn multiplication and division. And the answer is, yeah, you can find all sorts of ways around it, but you're going to be doing so much more work. And that's, I believe, what this person meant when they said the solution is to just learn the multiplication and division, because it's going to save you. It will ultimately be less work than a lifetime of avoiding multiplication and division. That's my take on it. This is a good one. Can I? Yeah. Let's. Save. Ooh, post saved. Posts. Oh, saved. Can I meet? Okay. It looks like I can't like organize these things I saved, so I might need to just like, but I'll do that for right now. Okay. That's r/math help. Oh, oops. I don't know what's going to pop at it. You know, it doesn't seem like a good idea to necessarily share just the homepage of the Reddit homepage. Let's see. Cheat on statistics. Oh, that's a user. Ooh, r/cheat online school. Cheat online proctor. Nice. Cheat online school. Okay. It just has a few videos. Honestly, it's probably scammy. That's funny. Cheat online proctor. Cheating any online school proctor. Huh. Well, if any of you need that, that exists. How about r/homework help? All right, this has some stuff in it. I think I will. I'll join. And it could be. Okay. Hmm. Math help r/math r/learn math. Oh, post all of your math learning resources here. Somebody learn math. Can somebody tell me why I've never been able to get math at all? So those are math learning resources. I'll join. Math homework. Math homework help. r/math homework. Neat. And r/math, I guess. Awesome. Okay. Math homework help is going to be a good one. This is great. Wow, sorry, I got kind of in reading that question. So about complex numbers, this is math r/math homework. That'll be a good one for us. And then r/math. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch myself in this account because I don't want to. I don't want to get into arguments. With this account, I'll do that with my main Reddit account. I'll argue with people. Okay. This is really excellent. Found several things here. So let's go back to, so now if we go back to my home, hopefully, do mathematicians really, so r/math is going to be probably more of the fun subreddit. There will, because the questions in there are more like this one. Do mathematicians really find equations to be, quote, beautiful? And then I'm just sort of going into detail about that question. Huh. Need math friends. I need someone who wants to show like their math projects too. That's great. Feels like their friends won't be interested in their math projects. Ooh, r/calculus. Duh. Let's do that. Heck yeah. All right. This is just a meme that had been posted in in a related one, because of course Reddit is filling my stuff with other things as well, but not a single number on the screen, by the way. A solution of a first order linear differential equations. Yeah, this is a DiffyQ course. I'm very curious how somebody is in this course and surprised to not see any numbers. This is sort of an idea I like about math. Numbers aren't math. Numbers are numbers. Arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponents and stuff, that's not math. It's arithmetic. It's a different thing. I mean, it's related. It's a subset of math. Numbers are, something used by math and manipulated by math. But what math does is manipulate value, and just the kind of the core idea of value, which is right. So like why we introduce letters to math, they're just placeholders for, we just need a symbol that doesn't have inherent value. You can't use the symbol 4 as a variable because we know that 4 is this many, right? So it can't vary. It's always this, that symbol is always 4. So we use an X, right? Or a Y or whatever. You could use emoji. And honestly, I'm excited to, as that becomes easier and easier to do, use emojis as your variables, 100%. There's no reason not to use emojis as variables. And so, this is the reason there's no numbers on the screen, is because numbers have definite concrete value. This is something that's true for all values, but it's describing a relationship, and actually the values it's talking about here have been abstracted. It's not even talking about the relationships of unknown values to each other. It's talking about the relationships of unknown functions to each other. And functions are like a further, you have concrete numbers, then you have variables that represent unknown concrete numbers, but can only be one concrete number at a time. Then you have functions, which are literally the relationships between values, and therefore themselves represent a sort of value. And then you can manipulate those. There's the mathematics of functions and things like that. And that's where you start getting into mathematics. Anyway, my assumption is that this is a visitor, an observer in this room, because in order to get to differential equations, and this looks like a like differential equations 1, that somebody might take right after they've taken like calculus 2 or calculus 3. And actually, this could even just be more towards the end of a calculus 2 course, or somewhere in a calculus 3 course. This might not even be a dedicated differential equations course. Somebody who's gotten to the point of learning this has already dealt a ton with math that doesn't have any numbers in it. So they wouldn't be surprised by this. It's a funny thing to see on here. Well, today was kind of a housekeeping day. Some of these early streams are probably going to largely be that, especially these ones that don't have anybody in them, and there's no user submitted questions. I do need to get better about checking for submissions, though. I just sort of expect myself to expect there to be a notification, but like, not really. It's my email, so I'm probably set this up so that it does give me like a notification when I get an email. But we're now set up with some good subreddits to get some questions from, and I have my own stuff that I, like yesterday we talked about the fraction division, but I have sort of there's a few lessons I have in my back pocket. Completing the square is one that I always like to do. I want to try to sort of figure out and keep in mind where the various classes are. So like when the Algebra 2 class is doing completing the square, then that can be a thing I talk about like in the first bit of these streams. I'll just go through completing the square, and then it's there for people to refer to. All right, well, we're close to the end here. I'm glad to have gotten that set up. I will also, like I have my my private tutoring students that I meet with. So that will also help me sort of stay informed about where people are. But like, so there will be terms sometimes where I just don't have anybody in geostats for whatever reason. I just only have like algebra and calc students and stuff like that, or whatever. So maybe I'll try to see. Maybe I'll reach out to some of the teachers. Or heck, I mean, I can't imagine anybody is seeing this portion of this stream on VOD. I'm not sure who will have watched an hour and 20 minutes into this kind of nothing stream. But if anybody is and you're a teacher, feel free to chime in to chat or something, or send me topics that you think that you would be interested in having somebody else out in the world doing a review for your students. Do you want do you think it would be worthwhile for your students to see a review of, or a reteaching or whatever of factoring quadratics, chain rule in a calculus class, that sort of thing. What the I don't know, things in statistics, what's that called, that 65, that 68, 95, 99.7 rule, or whatever. What is that called? It has a name. 68, 95, 99 rule, 99.7 rule. It's called the empirical rule. Oh my gosh, yeah. Anyway, I would be happy to just have some particular topic to talk about. Make sure, feel free to submit questions, even if you're not going to be able to attend the live stream, because these VODs will be available. And as I get actual user submitted questions, my plan is to clip those out and make those answers, those responses, easily available to people who submitted them outside of the live part of the stream, and without having to scrub through. As I get, if this takes off and I'm answering, a dozen or more questions per stream, that might start to become tedious. I do know YouTube has an auto chaptering thing that I could maybe make that a little easier, but I don't know. We'll see. But for now, especially, if there are streams where I only have 2 or 3 questions, I'll start clipping those out. I'll probably try to practice it with, I think one of the things I want to try to do, and I'll do tomorrow during the first part of the stream, is I'll go to one of these subreddits, and I'll probably have already picked out a question or two, and I'll treat it as if it's a user submitted question, just so I can sort of practice, see what that looks like, have something to practice clipping out, that sort of thing. I can always also just go back through my notes from previous students and find homework questions that we've worked on, and just, share solutions here. So I think it will be quite good. It's one of those things where, like, if I was, so I was the math interventionist, just sort of a really kind of a made up position. I think I gave myself the title. By like district title, I was just like an advanced math teacher. But I sort of gave myself the title of math interventionist at South. And I would do before and after school drop-in homework help stuff. Students could drop in and ask their questions about their homework and get some answers and stuff really quick. And I just remember I was feeling like, there's like 3 minutes left. Nobody's probably going to come. I'm like, but what if somebody did and I wasn't here? That would be a bummer. But I'm like, also, if they came in like the last minute or 2 minutes, I wouldn't want to. I'm glad I'm not here because I don't want to have to stick around. But also, I want to be here to answer their question. So I'm going to stick around until 4:30, because if somebody pops in here at 4:29, right at 4:30, my cursor is over the end stream button, but they pop in and they say, I have a question. I'm in here at the last minute, but I have a question. You better believe I'm going to stick around and answer that question. I think that's the thing that, isn't clear yet, but will become very clear as this goes on. Y'all, I get geeky excited about doing math problems and talking about math and answering math questions and all of that sort of stuff. So like when the questions start to actually come in, if one comes in at the last minute, I would way rather hang out and do that than, especially on a day like today, than pop out without having talked to anybody. Like, no. So if you're out there, if you're waiting to pop in at the last possible moment, you're rushing. You're like, oh, these hours are so tough for me to get to, but I think I can get there at 4:29. Well, then great. I'm super glad. I don't think it needs to be stated. This is Dr. Pepper. I didn't make myself a drink. They're the little cans, and I put the glass in the freezer, and I put it in here with just a little bit of ice, and that way it doesn't get all watered down, but the glass is cold to keep it cold. But yes, the secret is out. I do drink Dr. Pepper. I don't know what this means for the future of this channel, but I do drink Dr. Pepper. All right, y'all. listen. This was pretty good, I think. I've been meaning to. I hadn't even made the Reddit account for the calculus tutor. I thought I had, but that's how little I had it so far specifically for this. It's been a plan, but it wasn't critical to launching, and I sort of had to focus on the critical to launching things. Because I just kept adding stuff that I had to do before I started. And anyway, but now we're here. This is actually happening. Thank you to anybody who watches this, who watched or watches this third stream. I'll see you tomorrow.